The prison ship Retribution was the size of a small moon. It drifted through the dark space between stars, carrying the galaxy's worst criminals. Inside its metal walls, alien prisoners from 100 different worlds lived in fear of one creature. The destroyer stood 12 feet tall. His body was covered in black metal plates that could stop laser beams. Tubes and wires ran under his skin, connecting to machines that kept him strong and fast. His arms were as thick as tree trunks, and his hands could crush steel. For 3 years, no one had beaten him in the fighting pits. The pits were where prisoners settled their problems. Sometimes they fought until someone gave up. Sometimes they fought until someone died. Always one. The big alien walked through the prison halls, and other prisoners moved out of his way. Even the guards were careful around him. His metal feet made loud sounds on the floor. His red eyes glowed in the dark. "Fresh meat coming in today," said Vex, a small blue alien who liked to spread news. He had 6 arms and talked too much. New prisoner transport just docked. Did not care about new prisoners. They were all weak. They would all fear him just like the others. He went to the observation deck to watch the new arrivals come in. The airlock opened with a hiss. Guards in heavy armor brought in the new prisoners. Most were big, scary-looking aliens. There was a rock creature from the mining worlds. There was a tentacle beast from the water planets. There was even a robot that had killed its makers. Then saw something that made him laugh. At the end of the line was a small human girl. She looked young, maybe 20 years old. She had dark hair pulled back and wore the same gray prison clothes as everyone else. But while other prisoners looked around with fear, she just walked calmly. "Look at that," said to the aliens around him. His voice was like rocks grinding together. "They sent us a child." The other prisoners laughed. Humans were known to be weak. Their planet was soft and easy. They had no claws, no armor, no special powers. This one was even smaller than most humans. "She will not last a day," said a lizard alien with poison spit. "Someone will break her just for fun." But as watched, something strange happened. The girl was not looking around like a scared animal. Instead, she was studying everything. Her eyes moved from the guards to the walls to the other prisoners. She looked at the security cameras and the door controls. She watched how the guards moved and where they kept their weapons. When the guards scanned her for dangerous items, she stood still and quiet. When they pushed her forward, she moved without fighting back. But her eyes never stopped watching and learning. The processing took 2 hours. The girl was given a cell number and a work assignment. She would clean the fighting pits. Smiled at this. She would see him fight every day until someone finally decided to kill her. That evening, during mealtime, walked over to where the girl sat alone. The dining hall went quiet. Everyone knew what was coming. The big alien liked to play with new prisoners before he broke them. "You," said, looking down at her. "Human child, do you know who I am?" The girl looked up from her food. Her face showed no fear. You fight in the pits. You have not lost a match in 3 years." "Good, you have been listening. Do you know why they call me the Destroyer?" "Because you destroy things," she said simply. Some aliens laughed nervously. Others waited to see if would be angry. The girl's calm voice was strange in a place full of fear. "I have killed 47 beings in those pits," said. "I have crushed them, burned them, torn them apart. And tomorrow I will add 1 more to that number." The girl took another bite of her food. "Are you challenging me to fight?" "Yes, little human, tomorrow in the main pit. The rules are simple. Fight until one of us cannot fight anymore, or until one of us is dead." The dining hall was silent now. Even the guards had stopped moving to listen. Challenge fights were rare. Most prisoners were too smart to face unless they had no choice. "Will this be a surrender fight or a death fight?" the girl asked. His metal body made whirring sounds as his anger grew. "What does it matter to you? You will be dead either way." "It matters because I need to know how careful to be," she said. The aliens around them started to whisper. This was not how prisoners usually talked to. Most begged for mercy or tried to run away. This girl acted like they were discussing the weather. Leaned down until his glowing red eyes were close to her face. "Death fight, little human. I will tear you apart slowly so everyone can watch." The girl finished her food and stood up. She was so small that the top of her head barely reached chest. She looked up at him without blinking. "Tomorrow then," she said, "after the work shifts end." Powered up his combat systems. The machines in his body hummed louder. His metal plates shifted and locked into fighting position. Blue light ran along the tubes under his skin. "You cannot hurt me," he said, his voice getting deeper and more threatening. "My armor stops all weapons. My body heals from any wound. I am unstoppable." The girl looked at him for a long moment. Then she did something no one expected. She smiled. "It won't take long," she said quietly. Then she walked away, leaving standing in the middle of the silent dining hall. The other prisoners stared at her small form as she disappeared through the doorway. For the first time in 3 years, the destroyer felt something he had forgotten. Not fear exactly, but something close to it. The girl's calm words echoed in his mind as he returned to his cell. Outside his window, the stars looked cold and distant. Tomorrow would bring another fight. Tomorrow he would prove again why they called him the Destroyer. But tonight, for reasons he could not understand, sleep did not come easily. The next day moved slowly through the prison ship. Word about the fight had spread to every level, every cell block, every workstation. Aliens who had not spoken to each other in years were making bets. Most bet on how quickly would kill the human girl. Maya spent her work shift cleaning the fighting pits as assigned. She scrubbed blood stains from the metal floor and repaired damaged wall panels, but her real job was learning. She studied every part of the arena where she would fight in a few hours. The main pit was round and 50 feet across. The floor was made of thick metal plates with small gaps between them. The walls rose up 20 feet and ended in an energy barrier that kept fighters from escaping. Above that, seats for watching prisoners filled the space up to the ceiling. Maya found the gravity controls, the lighting systems, the air circulation units. She memorized where every bolt was placed, how every panel could be removed, which surfaces were smooth and which gave grip for climbing. By the time her shift ended, she knew the arena better than the aliens who had built it. In her cell, Maya prepared for battle. She had no weapons and no armor. The guards had taken everything except her prison clothes, but she did not need weapons. She was a weapon. Maya came from the Terminus colonies, human settlements on planets so dangerous that Earth looked safe in comparison. Her world had gravity that changed without warning, air that could burn your lungs, and animals that hunted anything that moved. The colonists who survived were the ones who could adapt to anything. When evening came, the arena filled with prisoners. Aliens from across the galaxy crowded into the seats, excited to see blood. The guards set up betting stations and sold food that most species could not eat. Even the prison warden came to watch from his private box. Entered the arena first. His metal body gleamed under the bright lights. His combat systems were fully activated, making his movements quick and powerful. Blue energy flowed through the tubes under his armor. His red eyes scanned the crowd, enjoying their cheers and fear. The announcer, a fat alien with 4 mouths, spoke into a microphone. In this corner, the undefeated champion of the pits, 47 kills, 0 losses, the Destroyer. The crowd roared. Some aliens threw pieces of metal at the energy barrier to show their excitement. Others made loud noises that hurt to hear, raised his arms, and his armor made threatening sounds. And in this corner, the announcer continued, a new prisoner from the human colonies, Maya the girl. A few aliens laughed when Maya walked into the arena. She looked even smaller next to. Her prison clothes were plain and clean. She had no cybernetics, no weapons, no armor. She looked like she belonged in a school, not a death match. But Maya was not afraid. She walked to her starting position and began to stretch, loosening her muscles. She bent forward and touched her toes, then twisted her back from side to side. To the watching aliens, it looked like she was getting ready for exercise, not a fight to the death. Watched her preparations and laughed. "Are you doing a dance, little human? Will you dance for me before I kill you?" Maya straightened up and looked at him. "I am getting ready to move. You should do the same." "I am always ready to move," said. He demonstrated by punching the air so fast that his fist made a loud crack. "See, my reflexes are perfect. My speed is maximum. You cannot escape me." Maya nodded. "Good to know." Then she continued her stretching routine. The announcer raised his hand. "This is a death match. Fight until one cannot continue. Fight until one is dead. There are no rules except survival. Begin in 10 seconds. The crowd counted down. 10, 9, 8. Powered up his weapon systems. Blades extended from his knuckles. Energy charges built up in his arms. 7, 6, 5. Maya finished stretching and settled into a low crouch. Her weight balanced on her toes, ready to move in any direction. 4, 3, 2. Raised his fists high, ready to crush his small opponent with one massive blow. 1 fight. Brought his fists down with enough force to crack the metal floor, but Maya was not there anymore. She had moved to the side so fast that some aliens missed it completely. The attack hit empty air. What? Spun around looking for his target. Maya was behind him, studying the way his armor connected at the joints. When he turned, she moved again, this time circling to his left side. Her movements were smooth and quiet, like water flowing around rocks. "Stop running!" Threw a punch at where she had been, but she was already somewhere else. His fist hit the wall, leaving a dent in the thick metal. The crowd went quiet. This was not what they expected. Usually, his first attack ended the fight. Instead, the small human was making him look slow and clumsy. Maya continued to move around, always just out of reach. But she was not just avoiding him. She was learning. She watched how he moved his weight when he punched. She timed the delay between when he decided to attack and when his cybernetics actually moved his body. She measured the range of his arms and the blind spots in his vision. "Fight me?" roared. He activated more systems, making his movements faster. He threw a combination of punches that would have destroyed a normal opponent. Maya flowed between the attacks like they were happening in slow motion. Each punch missed her by inches. Sometimes she leaned back. Sometimes she ducked. Sometimes she simply stepped to the side. But she never moved more than necessary, and she never stopped studying her opponent. Then Maya began her counterattack, not with big, powerful strikes, but with small, precise touches. As punch went past her head, she tapped a pressure point on his wrist. As he turned to face her, she pressed a nerve cluster on his elbow. "What are you doing?" demanded. He could barely feel her touches through his armor. "Learning," Maya said simply. She continued her tactics. Each time attacked, Maya avoided the blow and touched a different part of his body. His shoulder, his knee, his neck, his ankle. The touches were so light that they seemed meaningless. But after several minutes of this, began to notice problems. His left arm was starting to feel slow. His right leg had a small twitch that was getting worse. His targeting system was having trouble focusing on Maya's fast movements. "Impossible," he muttered. His armor diagnostics showed everything was normal, but his body was telling him something different. Maya stepped back and gave him space. "Your cybernetics are impressive, but they are connected to your natural nervous system. Touch the right pressure points, and you can disrupt the signals between your brain and your machines." The crowd was completely silent now. They were watching something they had never seen before. A tiny human was explaining how she was defeating their champion while she was doing it. Tried to rush her, but his movements were becoming uneven. The small disruptions Maya had caused were growing bigger. His left leg nearly buckled as he ran forward. Maya easily stepped aside. The thing about cybernetics is that they make you stronger, but they also give you new weaknesses. Organic bodies are hard to break completely. Machines break in predictable ways. She moved in close and touched 2 more points on his spine. His right arm stopped working completely. "You cannot hurt me," said again, but his voice was not as confident as before. Maya looked up at his glowing red eyes. "It won't take long," she said, and began to circle him again. Tried to grab Maya with his working arm, but she slipped away from his clumsy attempt. His right arm hung useless at his side, the cybernetics completely shut down. His left leg was twitching every few seconds, making it hard to keep his balance. "What did you do to me?" he demanded. Maya continued to circle him, staying just out of reach. "I touched nerve clusters that your cybernetics use to communicate with your organic brain. Think of it like unplugging cables from a computer. The machine still works, but it cannot receive proper signals." She moved closer and tapped another point on his shoulder. His left arm began to shake. "Your armor is very impressive," Maya said, as if she was giving a lesson to a class. "It can stop energy weapons, projectile weapons, even explosive weapons. Your regeneration system can heal cuts, burns, and broken bones. Your strength enhancement makes you 10 times stronger than your natural body." Swung his shaking left arm at her. Maya ducked under it easily. "But your designers made one mistake," she continued. "They designed your defenses to protect you from threats they understood. Weapons, environmental damage, physical trauma. They did not design them to protect you from someone who understands how living things work." The crowd watched in amazement as Maya began to use the arena itself as part of her attack. She kicked one of the loose metal plates on the floor, making it flip up and hit in the knee at exactly the right angle. His leg joint made a grinding sound and locked in place. "You see, humans come from what galactic databases call a," Maya explained while struggled to bend his frozen leg. "But that is not quite right. Earth is not a because it is more dangerous than other planets. Earth is a because it taught us to see everything as either a tool or a threat." She pointed to the energy barrier above them. "That barrier keeps fighters inside the arena, but it also reflects energy back downward." She threw a small piece of debris at the barrier. It bounced back and hit in the head, right where his helmet sensors were located. His vision display started showing error messages. "Stop this, fight me properly." "This is how humans fight," Maya said. "We do not have claws, so we learn to make tools. We do not have thick skin, so we learn to avoid attacks instead of absorbing them. We do not have strong bodies, so we learn to make everything around us work for us instead of against us." She grabbed one of the metal floor plates and used it to jam the joint in his frozen leg. Now he could not move that leg at all. Then she used another plate to reflect light from the arena lamps directly into his optical sensors. "My home colony was built on a planet with variable gravity," Maya continued her explanation while stumbled around half-blind. "Sometimes you weighed normal. Sometimes you weighed 3 times normal. Sometimes you floated. The gravity changed every few hours and you never knew when." She demonstrated by using the arena's artificial gravity generators against. Maya had studied their location during her work shift. She knew exactly where to throw debris to damage the control circuits. The gravity in one section of the arena suddenly became twice as heavy. Already unsteady, crashed to his knees. His cybernetics tried to compensate, but they were not designed for rapidly changing gravity. "The air on my world burned your lungs if you breathed it wrong," Maya said. She found the air circulation controls and changed the flow pattern. Now the air moved in circles around the arena instead of flowing smoothly. This confused chemical sensors and made it harder for him to track her by smell. "The animals on my world evolved specifically to hunt intelligent creatures. They learned to use tools. They learned to set traps. They learned to work together. And the colonists who survived were the ones who learned to be smarter than animals that were already smarter than most galactic species. Tried to stand up, but Maya used the lighting system against him. She had damaged the controls so that the lights flickered on and off in a pattern that confused his electronic eyes. Every time he thought he saw where she was, the lights changed and she was somewhere else. Your species mastered space travel because yours was safe, Maya said. Her voice was calm and patient, like a teacher explaining math to a student. You had time to build cities, to develop technology, to create art and culture. You built machines to make yourselves stronger because you were already strong enough to build machines. She moved behind and touched a nerve cluster at the base of his skull. His balance sensors stopped working properly, making the world seem to spin around him. Humans mastered survival because ours was trying to kill us every single day, Maya continued. We learned to adapt to anything because if we could not adapt, we died. We learned to make weapons out of anything because we were never safe enough to build proper weapons. We learned to see every environment as a puzzle to be solved rather than an obstacle to overcome. The gravity generator that Maya had damaged finally overloaded completely. A section of the arena floor became weightless, then returned to normal gravity, then became heavy again. The rapid changes were too much for cybernetic balance systems. "You cannot do this," roared as he fell over again. "This is not fair. This is not how fighting works." Maya looked at him with something that might have been pity. "Fair. My world had carnivorous plants that looked exactly like safe shelter. It had weather that could freeze you solid in minutes or cook you alive with radiation. It had predators that could think and plan and use tools better than most galactic citizens." She found the manual controls for the arena's atmospheric systems and began adjusting them. The temperature started rising in some areas and dropping in others. The humidity changed. Even the air pressure began to shift. "Do you think any of that was fair?" Maya asked. "Do you think the children who died in the night because they picked the wrong place to sleep cared about fairness? Do you think the families who starved because the plants they planted turned out to be parasites that ate all the soil cared about fighting properly?" His armor was designed for standard atmospheric conditions. The changing environment was making his cooling systems work overtime, while his heating systems tried to compensate for the cold spots. Steam began to rise from the joints in his armor. "We did not survive because we were stronger," Maya said. She was now standing in front of as he struggled to deal with all the failing systems in his body. "We survived because we were adaptable, because we could learn, because we could make everything around us into a weapon when we needed it to be." Made one last attempt to fight back. He activated his emergency protocols, pushing his cybernetics beyond their safety limits. For a moment, his systems came back online. His strength returned. His vision cleared. His balance stabilized. He swung at Maya with everything he had left. His fist moved fast enough to create a sonic boom. If it connected, it would turn her into paste. Maya stepped to the side and touched one final pressure point on his neck. All of cybernetics shut down at once. The emergency power surge that he had activated reversed itself and flowed backward through his neural connections. Every enhanced system in his body stopped working simultaneously. The destroyer collapsed to the arena floor like a puppet with its strings cut. His massive body hit the metal with a sound like a building falling down. He was still alive, still breathing, but he could not move. His own cybernetics were holding him prisoner. Maya stood over him, completely uninjured. She was not even breathing hard. "The thing about," she said, loud enough for the entire arena to hear, "is that we do not just survive hostile environments. We learn to make hostile environments work for us." The arena was completely silent. Thousands of aliens stared at the small human girl who had just done something impossible. She had defeated their champion without throwing a single punch, without using any weapons, without even breaking a sweat. Maya looked up at the crowd, Any questions? For long minutes, nobody moved. Lay on the arena floor, his massive body still and silent. The crowd of alien prisoners stared in shock at what they had just witnessed. Their unbeatable champion had been defeated by a small human who had barely touched him. Maya started to walk toward the exit, assuming the fight was over. But deep inside cybernetic systems, emergency protocols were activating. Hidden programs that had never been used before began to wake up. A red warning light began blinking inside Skull. His combat computer detected that he was losing a life-or-death battle. It sent a signal to systems that were locked away behind multiple safeguards, systems that his creators had hoped would never be needed. Berserker mode activated, announced a mechanical voice from inside his body. Safety limits removed. Pain receptors disabled. Survival overrides engaged. Maya stopped walking. She turned around slowly as his body began to move again. But this was different from before. His movements were jerky and unnatural, like a machine trying to operate a body it did not understand. Stood up, but his posture was wrong. His arms hung at strange angles. His head tilted to the side like his neck was broken. When he spoke, his voice was flat and emotionless, more machine than alien. Threat DATACTED. Lethal force authorized. Beginning termination protocol. Steam rose from every joint in his armor as his cybernetics pushed themselves far beyond safe operating levels. The tubes under his skin glowed brighter than before. His red eyes became brilliant white points of light. "Oh," Maya said quietly, "you have a suicide mode." The Berserker protocols were designed for situations where normal combat was not enough. They removed every safety limit, every protection system, every concern for the host's survival. Cybernetics began converting his own body into fuel, burning through muscle and bone to generate maximum power. "ANALYZNG target," his mechanical voice announced. "Human female, mass 54 kilograms, estimated threat level minimal, estimated termination time 12 seconds. Moved toward Maya, but his enhanced speed came at a cost. With each step, small pieces of his armor cracked and fell away. The stress of operating beyond design limits was tearing his body apart from the inside. Maya watched his approach with interest rather than fear. "Interesting. Your emergency systems prioritize immediate effectiveness over long-term survival, but they are still machines, which means they still have predictable failure points." Swung at her with inhuman speed. His fist moved so fast it caught fire from air friction. Maya dodged, but barely. The punch missed her face by inches and left a crater in the arena wall behind her. Miss, adjusting targeting parameters. Attacked again, this time with both fists. Maya had to roll across the floor to avoid being crushed. When she came up, she was smiling. "You know what the problem is with emergency systems?" she asked. "They are designed to work for short periods under extreme stress, but they are usually not tested very much, because testing them means destroying the thing they are supposed to protect." Maya began to move differently now. Instead of just avoiding his attacks, she started leading him around the arena. She made him chase her in circles, forcing him to use more and more of his enhanced speed and strength. "Energy consumption above optimal levels," combat computer announced. "Reducing output to conserve power." "See," Maya said as she led him through another exhausting circle. "Your Berserker mode burns through energy faster than your power systems can supply it, and since it removed your safety limits, it cannot slow down when it starts overheating." Smoke began to pour from his joints. His movements were becoming less coordinated as his systems struggled to cope with the heat and power drain. But the Berserker protocols would not let him stop attacking. Maya changed tactics. Instead of just making him waste energy, she began to target his cybernetics directly. She had learned their operating frequencies during their fight. Now, she used the arena's electronic systems to generate interference signals. She found the communication control panel for the arena's public address system and began adjusting the broadcast frequencies. The speakers around the arena started making high-pitched whining sounds that hurt to hear. "What are you doing now?" asked Vex, the blue alien who had been watching from the stands. "Cybernetics use radio signals to coordinate between different body systems," Maya explained while she worked. "If you can generate the right kind of interference, you can make those systems start fighting each other instead of working together." The interference began to affect targeting systems. His punches started missing by wider and wider margins. His balance sensors received conflicting signals about which way was up. His coordination protocols could not figure out why his left arm was not doing what his right arm expected it to do. "Error, error. Multiple system conflicts DETCTED's voice announced, but now it sounded confused and uncertain. Maya escalated her electronic warfare. She used her knowledge of jury-rigging equipment to turn every electronic device in the arena into a transmitter. The lighting controls, the gravity generators, the atmospheric processors, even the waste disposal systems all began broadcasting noise on different frequencies. "The thing about growing up on a," Maya said as she worked, "is that nothing ever works properly. Equipment breaks down constantly. You learn to fix things with whatever materials you have available. More importantly, you learn to understand how complex systems fail." Berserker mode was designed to ignore damage to his organic body, but it was not designed to handle cascading failures in his electronic systems. As different cybernetic components began to malfunction, they started sending error signals to other components. The errors spread like a virus through his network. "Regeneration system offline," his voice announced. "Targeting system offline. Balance system offline. Strength enhancement offline." "Your cybernetics are very advanced," Maya said, "but they are also very complicated. The more complicated a system is, the more ways it can break. And the more connected everything is, the faster problems spread when something does go wrong." She found the manual override controls for the arena's electromagnetic shielding and began turning them on and off in rapid succession. This created powerful electromagnetic pulses that were designed to protect the arena from outside interference. But they also interfered with anything electronic inside the arena. With each pulse, more of systems shut down. His enhanced reflexes disappeared. His night vision failed. His chemical sensors stopped working. His strength returned to normal levels, which was not nearly enough to support his heavily modified body. "Critical system, FAILURESDETCTED's voice was now weak and distorted. "Attempting emergency restart." "That will not work," Maya said gently. "You pushed your systems too hard for too long. Some of those components are physically damaged now. You cannot restart hardware that has been destroyed." Tried to take a step toward her, but his legs would not obey his commands. His cybernetic control systems had been so thoroughly disrupted that they could no longer communicate with his organic nervous system. "I don't understand," said, and for the first time his voice sounded like the alien he used to be instead of a machine. "How did you know how to do this? How did you learn to fight cybernetics?" Maya walked over to where he stood, now helpless and confused. "I told you. I grew up on a world where everything tried to kill me. That included the technology we depended on to survive. Equipment that failed could kill your entire family. So we learned to understand every system we used, down to the smallest detail." She looked up at his face, which was now showing expressions again as his emotion suppression systems failed. "We learned to predict how things would break before they broke. We learned to fix them when they did break. And sometimes, when we had no choice, we learned to break them in exactly the right way to protect ourselves." His legs finally gave out. He crashed to the arena floor again, but this time Maya could see that he was still conscious, still aware. His cybernetics had not shut him down. They had just stopped working. "You didn't defeat me in combat," said slowly. "You defeated my machines." "I defeated you by understanding that you had become dependent on your machines," Maya corrected. "The cybernetics made you stronger, but they also made you vulnerable in ways you never considered. When your technology failed, you had no backup plan." She knelt down next to his fallen form. "The thing about is that we never trust any single system to keep us alive. We always have backup plans, and backup plans for our backup plans, because we learned that everything fails eventually." Stared up at the arena ceiling, his enhanced body now completely paralyzed by its own failed technology. "What happens to me now?" Maya stood up and looked around the arena at the thousands of aliens who had watched their champion fall. "That depends on what kind of person you choose to be when you figure out how to live without your machines." The arena was silent, except for the sound of cybernetics powering down one system at a time. In the days following the fight, everything changed aboard the prison ship Retribution. The news of defeat spread through every cell block, every workstation, every gathering place where prisoners met. Aliens who had lived in fear for years suddenly found themselves whispering about the small human girl who had done the impossible. Maya returned to her normal routine. She cleaned the fighting pits, ate her meals quietly, and slept in her assigned cell. But now, everywhere she went, conversations stopped. Prisoners moved out of her way not from fear, but from respect. Even the guards treated her differently, though they tried to hide it. Survived his injuries, but he was no longer the same being. His cybernetics had been so thoroughly damaged that the prison medical staff had to remove most of them. Without his enhancements, he was just another large alien with a bad temper. He spent his days in the medical wing, learning to walk again with legs that were no longer stronger than steel. 3 days after the fight, Maya was approached by a purple alien who had been the second strongest prisoner before arrived. Had expected to take over as the new boss of the prison, but he was smart enough to test the waters first. "Human," said carefully, "I want to discuss territory arrangements. The lower levels have been without proper leadership since defeat." Maya looked up from her food. "I am not interested in being anyone's boss." "But you must take control," insisted. "Someone has to maintain order. Someone has to settle disputes. The guards cannot manage thousands of prisoners without help from prisoner leadership." "Then settle disputes," Maya said simply. "Help maintain order. I am not stopping you." Was confused. In his experience, power came from strength, and strength had to be demonstrated constantly. "But you are the strongest now. Everyone knows this. How can I have authority if you do not give it to me?" Maya finished her meal and stood to leave. Strength is not about beating people up. Strength is about solving problems. If you can solve problems better than anyone else, people will follow you naturally. If you cannot solve problems, then beating people up will not help you for very long. Word of this conversation also spread quickly. Prisoners began to understand that Maya was not interested in ruling them through fear like Had. Instead, she seemed to want them to figure out how to live together without needing a dictator. Slowly, a new system began to emerge. When fights broke out, prisoners asked Maya to judge who was right and who was wrong. When resources needed to be shared, they asked her to decide what was fair. When complex problems arose, they brought them to her for solutions. Maya never demanded this authority. She never threatened anyone or made promises. But her reputation for finding clever solutions to impossible problems made other prisoners trust her judgment. They discovered that she could resolve conflicts that had seemed unsolvable. A week after the fight, Maya was summoned to the warden's office. This was unusual. Prisoners rarely met with the warden unless they were in serious trouble or being transferred to another facility. Warden was a thin, nervous alien with gray skin and too many eyes. He had run the prison ship for 5 years by staying out of the prisoners' way as much as possible. Now he sat behind his desk, looking at Maya with a mixture of fear and curiosity. "Prisoner," he began, consulting a data pad, "your actions in the arena have created complications for prison management." "I followed the rules," Maya said. "Challenge combat is legal according to the prisoner handbook." Yes, the fight itself was legal," Warden agreed quickly. "The problem is what happened afterward. We have had 12 applications for prisoner transfers off this ship. Guards are requesting reassignment to other duties. Even some of the automated systems seem to be malfunctioning more often than usual." Maya tilted her head. "Are you saying that my presence is causing technical problems?" "I am saying that everyone who works on this ship has heard what you did to cybernetics. They are now worried about their own technology. Morale is suffering." Before Maya could respond, Warden's communication panel lit up with an incoming priority message. He accepted the call, and a holographic image appeared of a tall alien in a military uniform. "Warden, I am commander of the Galactic Enforcement Council. I need to speak with prisoner Maya immediately." The warden looked surprised. "Sir, may I ask what this is regarding?" "It is regarding a matter of galactic security," Commander said firmly. "Please transfer the prisoner to a private communication room. This conversation is classified." 10 minutes later, Maya sat alone in a small room facing the holographic image of Commander. He was a member of the species, tall and elegant with blue-green skin and large black eyes. They were known throughout the galaxy as excellent administrators and careful planners. "Miss," Commander began, "we have reviewed recordings of your fight with. We have also received reports about your subsequent behavior aboard the prison ship. The Galactic Enforcement Council would like to make you an offer." "What kind of offer?" "Complete pardoning of your criminal sentence, immediate release from custody, transportation to any world of your choosing, and a position within our organization should you be interested." Maya studied his face carefully. What would this position involve? "We need experts in unconventional problem-solving. Your demonstrated ability to defeat superior opponents using environmental advantages and system knowledge is exactly what we require for certain types of missions." "You want me to be a weapon?" Commander hesitated. "We want you to help us understand what we are dealing with. Recent intelligence reports indicate that humanity may be expanding beyond its current territory. If your species possesses capabilities similar to your own, the balance of power in this galaxy could change dramatically." Maya was quiet for a long time. Then she asked, "What do your intelligence reports say about human expansion?" "Very little, unfortunately. Your species is still relatively new to galactic society. Most of what we know comes from official diplomatic communications and trade records, but there have been incidents. Human settlements appearing in systems that should be uninhabitable. Human traders arriving in markets they should not have been able to reach. Human ships detected in regions of space that no one else can survive." "And you think I can help you understand these incidents?" "We think you represent a type of human that we have not encountered before. Most humans we meet are diplomats, traders, or refugees. They seem pleasant but unremarkable. You are different. You demonstrate capabilities that our say should be impossible for your species." Maya stood up and walked to the small window in the communication room. Outside, she could see stars moving slowly past as the prison ship continued its journey through space. Somewhere among those stars was a small blue planet that most aliens considered insignificant. "Commander," she said finally, "I appreciate your offer, but I think you are misunderstanding something important." "What is that?" Maya turned back to face his holographic image. "You think I am unusual for a human. You think I represent some kind of special type that you need to study and understand. But you are wrong." Commander leaned forward with interest. "Please explain." "I am not special," Maya said simply. "I am normal. The humans you have met before were the careful ones, the diplomatic ones, the ones who were playing it safe in alien territory. They were not showing you what we are really capable of because they did not want to scare anyone. She walked closer to the holographic projector. But there are billions of humans, Commander, and most of them grew up on worlds that make my colony look safe and comfortable. Most of them have been solving impossible problems their entire lives. Most of them see the universe the same way I do. Commander's expression changed as the implications of her words sank in. Are you saying that your abilities are typical of human colonists? I am saying that humans have been preparing for galactic contact for longer than you realize. We have been spreading to worlds that no one else wanted because we could survive there. We have been learning to adapt to environments that would kill most species, and we have been waiting to see what the rest of the galaxy was like. Maya smiled, and for the first time Commander understood why the other prisoners were afraid of her. You want to understand what you are dealing with? Maya asked. You are dealing with a species that learned to weaponize everything, including failure itself. You are dealing with people who see every problem as a puzzle to be solved rather than an obstacle to be avoided. You are dealing with beings who have spent thousands of years turning the things that tried to kill them into the things that made them stronger. She accepted the call connection controls and began ending the communication session. Thank you for the offer, Commander, but I think I will finish my sentence here. Someone should probably warn the galaxy about what is coming, and I am curious to see if you will figure it out in time. The holographic image flickered and disappeared, leaving Maya alone in the communication room. Outside the window, the stars continued to move past, cold and distant and beautiful. Somewhere among them, humanity was beginning to discover just how much of the galaxy was empty and waiting for people who were not afraid of impossible places. Maya smiled again and went back to her cell to get some sleep. Tomorrow there would be more problems to solve, more systems to understand, and more aliens to teach about the difference between surviving and thriving. The galaxy was about to get much more interesting.